How's it going, folks? I'm Matthew. This is Lemora's Cards, and today we're taking a look at the Topdeck Invitational. This was the 64-player invite-only event with some of the best players looking to become the champion of the 2024 Topdeck Championship Series. There's some really interesting insights here. We'll dive into it across a couple of videos that'll be coming out about this event, but today this is the big one. This is the Invi, the meta we were most curious about, what it would look like, the most different event that I've covered probably, other than Ambassador Liquidus. Today we're taking a look at it. If you enjoy this video, like, comment, subscribe. Let me know what you want to hear about the Invitational. I got a ton of footage there, interviews. Going to be talking about the Open. You might be going way more in depth on this event. We'll probably have a podcast episode on it. So let me know everything you want to hear about it. Thanks so much to all my patrons over on Patreon whose support helps me do all of this stuff. With all that being said though, let's hop into it. Use the link in the description below to download Whatnot, and you'll get $15 to use to buy Magic singles, sealed product, get anything that you want really. There's no limits. You just get $15 on the account for free just for signing up. Use the link in the description below. Give Whatnot a try. The meta breakdown. It's going to be different than what we normally see, right? So the most popular deck was Tymna Kraum, 15 entries, 4 in the top 16, so a 26% conversion rate. But the deck, I think of the weekend, what felt like the deck that really controlled the pace and what we talked about, the deck that had the most impact in the format going into this event, Sisay, with 11 entries, 5 top 16s for a 45% conversion rate. And this is the deck I just kept hearing about. This is the deck that impacted the decisions that players made on their deck building. This is the deck that decided like what really people were going to be doing and really determined the pace of play. Sisay, 10 entries, 3 top 16s, 30% conversion rate, pretty popular. These have been like the 3 big decks with Nadu coming up, but Nadu, like we kind of mentioned, seeming like maybe a risky choice into a meta that seems like it's trying to address Sisay and just full of all the best Sisay pilots, talking to people in interviews. The fact that the quality of Sisay player was so high really impacted how some players felt the matchup changed for them, where they felt like against okay to good Sisay pilots, they were, they felt pretty confident, but against the best Sisay pilots, they didn't feel very good. We have Kinrith, 4 of those, no into the top 16. We did have 1 Kinnan show up out of the 2. I didn't even know we had 2 in the top. 2 Nadus, Tivits. Then we get a bunch of 1-ofs and 0s. 25 different decks total out of the 64 represented here. Let's take a look at the deck list. 16th place, we have a Sisay, and it's a Planeswalker Sisay build. Remember, these events, especially something like this, not every list is going to be that exciting. There are some pretty interesting things to come up with a couple of the lists. We're going to try to highlight that and maybe what they were addressing. I'm not going to fixate on all of those lists, just going to point out the differences. So Planeswalkers, we've got the kind of main ones plus Oko showing up as a bit of utility. Doesn't seem like the best environment for Oko, to be honest, but certain matchups it can be good. Creatures, we got a bunch of dorks. We are on the Gilded Drake. We do have the Lavinia here, which seems like a good call into a more turbo-ish meta. Tournament is not a card we see very often in Sisay. Very good utility on a creature. Obviously not a legend you can tutor up, but is powerful in creature decks that have lots of things they'd like to buy back. We're on the Thrasios Oracle here. Not very common in Planeswalker builds of Sisay. I actually don't know that I've covered any Planeswalker builds that have it. Maybe looking to have that extra flexibility to go fast. We'll see if we're on the Tymna Pack console. I imagine we are. Other thing standing out is the Felidar Guardian. Pretty useful card. Does all our dockside shenanigans we like to do. Works really well with Saheeli to just straight up win the game. The rest, pretty standard stuff right now for Sisay. Sorceries, we got 4 tutors. Instants, we have the Chain of Vapor. We are on the Consult. Also the Final Fortune and Tymna Pack. So it is looking like we're trying to get a little bit quicker. Be able to really find our window. We're on the Dismember, Cord. We are on the Ghostfire Slice. This seems like an odd choice to me because if you really need to kill something, you kind of really, you want to reliably do that. This does give you access to a loop with Ghostfire Slice and Eternal Witness. If you can go infinite and infinitely Ewit loop, you can do it like a lightning bolt. I don't know that Sisay needs this over the swords though. It seems odd to see a 5-color list opt for Ghostfire Slice though, even though this was a card I was kind of high-ish on in MH3 previews. Artifacts, bunch of rocks with pretty cool art. Soul Cauldron, One Ring, no Relic of Legends. Aether Vial. We're on the Aether Vial build. These pop up every now and then too. Enchantments, Mystic Ristic, Touch, Rolling Tide, Oath to Fairy. This is pretty well what we expect for Sisay's right now. And then 28 lands. Basically a traditional Planeswalker Sisay build, opting for a couple different options that they can run, like Eternal Witness, and then running Thoracle Consult along with Tymna Pack to give the deck nice ability to just win very quickly. Next up, we've got Tymna Kraum, and pretty different one. So we got the Teferi. We have 16 creatures, which is a good bit higher than what we have been seeing. everything. We've been saying like 12 to 14 right now are on the Mockingbird, as well as Flesh Duplicate and Fimage and Metamorph. So very, very high on the clone effects. Polywog Prodigy showing up as a value engine. We also have Delny showing up for that value-y game plan for the most part. We're still with Tymna. We are on the Facebreaker, which we have not seen much of. And then we're on Tashana's Tidebinder. This is definitely looking like a fairly grindy version of TNK that is expecting more of some mid-range fights. Sorceries, we got a bunch of Tutors, Deluge as our wipe of choice, and we are on the Wheel of Fortune. We're not on Diabolic Intent. That's a card I guess people are just cutting now, even when they're on 16 creatures in a black breach deck. I don't know what to tell you. Instance, we are on the Offer, both the Red Blast. We're on the Rending Volley, Strict Serenade, Stern Scolding, Spell Snare. Very interactive. Sometimes people meme on me when I see a higher creature count and call it mid-rangey. You got a Stern Scolding in here, dude. So we're not on Ad Nauseam. So yeah, we're a non-Nas TNK list. No big mana value so far, but more clunky threes at least. Nothing else super wild standing out. We're also not on Cabal Ritual, which I guess when you're not on Nas feels a little less necessary. We are on the One Ring, which we do expect in a build like this, as well as Curse Totem, which is relevant for us a bit. Hits our Facebreaker and Ranger Captain, potentially something we might clone, but not too bad. Again, feels like a bit of an odd meta call. It's not really like it's basically targeting Sisay and then a little bit of Nadu. Most people were pretty aware that there weren't going to be very many Nadus. It looked like 2 at the minimum, maybe up to 4. Enchantments, not running the Necro, just running the 4 other staples. And then we are on 27 lands. Pretty different TNK build. I don't cover the Nautilus TNKs too often. We got one here. Then we're looking at another Sisay. Here we're on Invasion of Ikoria. We're also running the Dahada and Ashiok along with Yoko in our Planeswalker slot, so leaning more heavy into the Planeswalkers. Creatures, Raggy P, we're on the Dauntless Dismantler. We see the Lavinia showing up here again. This build is on the Rocco, which has started to become more of a popular option, though we didn't see it in the previous one. Sorcery is just the one, DT, Instance. So this is a little bit more like what I would expect. We're on the Quick Reflexes to protect our creature combo shenanigans. Offer just being really flexible. Maybe not too surprised to see Strict Serenade. Swords to Plowshares over like Ghostfire Slice makes a ton of sense to me. On the Abrupt Decay, Worldly Tutor, Damage Call, all the interaction that makes sense for us to run for the most part. Artifacts, we are on the Relic. This one not on the One Ring, and then a bunch of other rocks. And we're on the Witchclaw Talisman as a tutor. Enchantment, so this one opting for the staple. I would say these 5 are like the ones you always see. And then Cultist of the Absolute shows up a pretty decent amount of the time, as well as Blind Obedience showing up. Cultist can really speed up your Sisay plan. Blind Obedience can really slow down your opponents. And then 29 lands, relatively high land count on the Forbidden Orchard. Tarnished Citadel, your life total's not really getting pressured, Fix that mana, dog. Another clean Sisay build, a slightly different take on what we just saw with Planeswalker Sisay. We got Freedom Waffles, Good Soup. Let's see if he's changed anything. Still on the 12 creatures. Still, again, we've seen no Dranniths so far. Not a card we're seeing much of now. So looks like we've seen him cut Metamorph in favor of the Mockingbird and is still on the Fimage. About what I expected most of the lean and clean kind of TNK builds to do. Sorceries, we are on the Deluge as a wipe. We're on Tutor, Intent. Oh yeah, the other one was also, the other TNK we looked at was also not on Rite of Flame, which again kind of makes sense in the non-Nas builds. A lot of times like Rite of Flame is really helping you get up to it, or post-Nas, be able to dockside or something like that. Instance, so we do still see the Dispel, which is a card, and Miscast, which are cards that his builds are pretty well known for. Into the Flood Maw, a card we've seen a decent amount of, showing up in really any blue deck that wants some kind of bounce spell that hits anything. We're on the Path and Swords, Pyro and Red Blast. We're on the Cabal Writ, Horses, Fierce, a lot of the rest of the stuff, what you'd expect. We are on the Consult. He didn't cut it here. That would have been insane to do. Artifacts, bunch of mana, and a Witchclaw Talisman. You know how we do it here. Not on any of the actual talismans, just on Arcane Signet and Felwar Stone. That's notable. Also, he is no longer on Reanimate, which has been a card that pops up into his list a lot of the time. And then enchantments, staple 5 you see in most TNKs, with Necro now being a staple, and then Copy Artifact, which is something that he's been on, as well as a couple other TNKs, but I think he's been steadily on this for a couple months now. And then 27 lands, fairly standard stuff here. If you notice my hair looks a little different in this one, it's because there's so many Rog Size in this top 16, I almost missed one. We're looking at Tad's Rog Size here with 7 creatures, is still on the Orcish Bowmasters, which has been a pretty popular cut, and is added the Valley Floodcaller. Sorceries, we're on the Git Pro, both the extra turns. We are on the Wheel of Misfortune, which we're starting to see come back in a little bit. A lot of people had cut that after like Flare of Duplication came out, stuff like that. But we do see all 4 wheels here. We're on the Brainstorm, which has become more of a popular option in the Citadel list, but we didn't see Goblin Welder, so it seems less likely that we're on that. Maybe just running the Brainstorm to have some flexibility and just like be a good card at getting gas, giving you a lot of looks between your Surveil and Fetch lands and all of that. We are on just the Pyroblast, no Red Elemental Blast. Another thing might be popular here. And we already see the lack of a Force of Negation, though we do have a Force of Will here. I think if that's what if you're going to cut one, I think that's the one to do. And we will see like quite a few players make that choice, and some even cut both of them this tournament. Artifacts, no Bolus to Citadel, like we expected. All the fast rocks, we are still on the Grim Monolith, Grinding Station, Wish Claw, all that good stuff. And enchantments, the 5 staple ones you should expect to see in every rock side deck at the moment. 23 lands on the Raucous Theater as the Surveil land of choice. Then we got Alex's Krark Thras. Shout out to Alex in Atlanta, cEDH. Pretty unique deck. We don't see all that often. I've covered it once, maybe. So the deck looks to utilize Krark as a storm sort of engine enabler, can double up on your spells, enable some fairly broken synergies, as well as like the backbone of getting blue and green from Thrasios and having an infinite mana outlet in the command zone. Let's take a look at the build. We got Allosaurus Shepherd, can't be countered. Green spells can't be countered. Dockside Duplicate, only Birds of Paradise as a dork. We are on the Gilded Drake, some Krark cards like Harmonic Prodigy, which will double our Wizard and Shaman triggers like Krark, for instance, as well as Tavern Scoundrel, which is when you flip a coin, you can create 2 treasure tokens. Thassa's Oracle, nice clean way to win if you draw your deck with Thrasios. Don't have to deal with like it being post-combat or whatever. Just throw it in. Especially good if you're looking to do some kind of flash stuff. It looks like we could E-Wit Loop. We're even on the Timeless Witness, but can be very, very clean. Also wins through One Ring Protection. Bergie, because we Stormin. Dualcaster Mage, probably doing at least Molten Duplication. Frenetic Efreet, flip a coin, target opponent calls heads or tails. Let's get the new text because this is nonsense. Flip a coin. If you win the flip, it phases out. If you lose the flip, sacrifice it. This lets you just flip coins. You can just put a bunch of these on the stack over and over and over because you can't let the coin flip resolve, like the first one resolve, or like it potentially is phased out. You don't have the potential to do it again. With Tavern Scoundrel and Frenetic Efreet, you can just put infinite Frenetic Efreet triggers on the stack or activations on the stack and then flip infinite coins and get infinite treasures and draw your deck and win. Imp Recruiter, Spellseeker. So we are on the Nadu. We don't see a great enabler for it so far. It might be in our artifacts. We'll see. We did see a little bit of Secret Commander Nadu starting to pop up more and more, even at this event. Veyron doubles our Krark triggers and any of our Magecraft, any kind of spellcast stuff. Works with Stormcloak Artist as well. Kitten is just busted when you're casting lots of spells, and then clones, and then Timeless Witness. Not entirely sure why we're going so deep on this effect. Maybe it'll be revealed as we go on. Sorceries, stuff you'd expect. Gitaxian Probe, known for Krark stuff. Although we don't have like a Sakashima where it's very easy for us to get like 5 Krarks into play. We are on the Twin Flame, not on Molten Duplication, and we're on Heat Shimmer. Neoform Eldritch Evolution going to be good. We're a blue-green deck with 21 creatures. Of course, we're going to want Eldritch Evolution, Neoform. Jessica's Will, super, super broken in Krark decks. Talked about this a lot. And then Grape Shot can be a win con. Can just clean up a board. Can just be like a 2-mana board wipe that is very selective, doesn't hit our own stuff. Can also just get a player dead. Instance. So, cards like Summoner's Pact. Oh, that's good. Gut Shot, again, when you're able to double up on stuff or potentially bounce it back to hand multiple times. Clean up the board, stuff like that. Essence Flux, just a powerful card in a deck that can 1, double up on it, and 2, has the ability to just, all these good, powerful ETBs. We are on Lightning Bolt, a bunch of stuff we'd expect. In the interaction, we'd expect to see Veil of Summer here. Manamorphose even, which can be a ritual that draws us a bunch of cards, right? You copy it with Krark, pretty busted magic card. Narset's Reversal, Flare of Duplication at home. Depends on what the spell is. Obviously very good to sandbag something like this when you might expect an Ad Nauseam or Pure Into the Abyss, or, well, probably not Pure, but Ad Nauseam, whatever. Krark can also really manipulate its own stack, where a lot of people, to mess with your ability to continue chains, especially players who know what they're doing, will look to interact with the original spell before any of the flips resolve to make sure that it's into the graveyard or exiled or whatever they're going to be doing with it. And Narset's Reversal is a nice way to be able to save your own spell if it's something you want to be able to keep firing off over and over. Also, it can just make a mess of a stack to copy out Narset's Reversal a bunch of times. You can do some wild stuff. Then we see a bunch of the free spells that we come to expect in Krark. They just keep resolving no matter what. Submerge, putting creatures on top. Mog Salvage, blowing up artifacts. Port of Calling, pretty notable. I mentioned, right, that we have basically just a 2-creature combo with Tavern Scoundrel and Frenetic Efreet. So if we ever copy like an Eldritch Revolution for 3 or a Court of Calling for 3, we can just win or get infinite treasures right there. Going to our artifacts, not too many, a bunch of rocks. We are on the LED because we breachin'. No Signet effects, not even Arcane Signet, no 2-mana rocks. And then we are on the One Ring and Krark's Thumb to give us more flips. Just the 3 best enchantments in the format. Lands. So we got the Emergent Zone. Were we crop rotting? I think we are. Yes, we are in the crop rotation. Okay, just double checking. So we got the Emergent Zone. We got the Guy's Cradle. Good utility lands. We're also on the Shifting Woodland, which can be really nice. We do have creature combos. We are a Breach deck as well. We'd be able to copy your Breach after it's been blown up or got Besaged or whatever. It can be really hot. Really cool deck. Krark, Thras, and Tymna in general. Pretty hot. Got to talk to Alex this weekend. It sounded like whenever he cast Krark, he lost. And whenever he didn't, he won. So I don't know what that says about the deck, but let's go gambling. Next, we're looking at another Sisay. We've got Planeswalker Sisay. None of the like kind of splash Planeswalkers, just these 5 kind of staple ones. Bunch O Dorks. We're on the Raggy P. We're on the Lavinia here. Derevi, Cutsoul. We're on Lorn of the Third Path, which is a card we saw a bit of in Sisay since it came out. I think we're seeing a lot less of it recently, but can be a pretty nice option to tutor for. You know, can blow up a Breach, blow up a Draw Engine, whatever. Pretty stapley beyond that. Neoform and Demonic Tutor as our sorceries of choice. For instance, we're on the Serenade, Fluster, Offer, Soul Partition, another nice flexible thing, can let us, you know, potentially double up on dock sides while also getting rid of problematic permanents. Artifacts, we are on the Relic. Again, no One Ring. Maybe just too slow in this environment. You know, honestly, pretty believable. And we're on the Wishclaw Talisman. Enchantments, we've got the Oath of Nissa. So pretty much the same as the last list we looked at, plus Oath of Nissa, which again pops up. Decently popular option. It's a legendary enchantment, you know, helps you mana fix, stuff like that. And then we're on 29 lands. Again, fairly high land count. Mount Doom, Tarnished Citadel. Pretty much the Sisay stuff you expect to see. Taking a look at a Tivit. Another Atlanta player here. Shout out to Ananias. Teferi, Tezzeret, Creatures, Dothi Voidwalker. This is a card that Eric and I had pointed out as maybe being a pretty good meta call for this format. You expect a bunch of Rogs wheeling. They don't really want to do that into Dothi. Grand Arbiter doesn't always come up. A couple Tivit lists every now and then on it. Urza, decently popular option. We do see a Draenith Magistrate actually in this tournament. It's here. Again, not a bad option. It can line up where it doesn't do anything against what the turbo players are doing, but it can also be like, oh crap, I can't do anything. Sorceries, we are on the Deluge as a board wipe, as well as Dam. We're on the DT, Meme Bet, Imp Seal, Sevrek, no Diabolic Intent again. Instance, we're on the Offer, Dispel, Spell Pierce even. We're going that far. So a decent amount of 2-mana interactive options between Delay, Dovin's Veto, Mana Drain, and then Muddle, which is here as a tutor, and you know, it also can counter things. Artifact tutors like Word of Invention, Swords and Path. Artifacts, decent amount of rocks, 4 talisman effects. We've got the Grafdigger's Cage, which is pretty popular for the Tivits. Notably, we're not doing Intuition with our Savine Direct, just using it to buy back, you know, good thing like Ranger Captain, the Time Sieve, whatever. We're also on Disruptor Flute. Can be pretty good. Can shut down commanders, make it very difficult to cast them, can just turn off a problematic permanent if it has, you know, really powerful activated ability. I kept hearing about Necropotence sounding really, really busted this past weekend. Pretty good answer to Necropotence. You know, just 2 mana doesn't work for anybody. Nobody can Necro in this table. People are pretty incentivized to keep that thing in play, even if they were planning to Necro. We got Imposter Mech, nice clone option, Time Sieve, Wishclaw, One Ring. We didn't see a Mockingbird. Also, yeah, no Fimage or Flesh Duplicate up here. So just running Metamorph along with that Imposter Mech. Dress Down. Curious how this card played out this weekend. I mean, we do see like TNKs and Sisays and stuff, and it's really good against them. But again, can be pretty awkwardly positioned against like Rock size stuff. And then Blind Obedience, Tithe, Touch, kind of stuff we expect for Tivits. 28 lands. We are in the Cavern. 2 basics. You're out of your mind. I mean, there is paths, but you know, are you gonna eat the path all that much? I don't know. Next, we got our first Rogsai. You might have noticed how there's 5 of them. It kind of took us a while to get to them, right? Yeah, it's because they did really, really well. So Rogsai's been going through some changes. We got some of the staple creatures, no Bowmasters, which previously was one. Valley Flood Caller, which has become pretty close to a staple, another Born effect, when you can invest your mana into, pretty hard to interact with being on a creature. And then Goblin Welder showing up in the Citadel decks. Sorceries, we are on the Git Probe, both extra turn effects. We are on 3 wheels, J-Will, Meme Bet, Yogg-Will, Beseech, all the good stuff you expect for the most part. Instance, we are on Brainstorm, which was a card we just played anyways, is a lot better with Bolas' Citadel, can just kind of win you the game probably in a lot of situations, and just kind of help you find gas. We're on the Entomb, which lines up pretty well with our Goblin Welder shenanigans we're doing. And you can also use Entomb for like breach lines. It can be like basically like another gamble essentially, but you can use it instant speed to help set you up. So you're going to notice A couple big changes with the rock side builds in this tournament is that most, if not all, that we'll cover. We'll see. I haven't looked at the rest of them yet. There was kind of a big trend, especially in the Citadel builds, to cut the forces. So no force of will, no force of negation. They are fully just sending it, run more gas, win the game. You know, forces on top with your Citadel, forces, you know, pretty bad with Nas, force of negation. Often doesn't protect your win attempts. It does more often now with Flare and Born Upon a Wind being in the format. Pretty intense stuff. You know, I got to talk to Zane about it this past weekend, talking about how there's no sacred cows and you should be willing to cut anything. That's where we're at. No sacred cows. Cut the forces. Just win. Artifacts. Whole bunch of mana. Defense grid, Bolus the Citadel being the main standout. And then Chromatic Star, I was hearing was a meme, but it's actually pretty good. Again, works pretty well with Citadel, kind of loop through with it. And then the enchantments, these 5 is what you should expect from Rock Size right now. Both Necros, Breach, Mystic Ristic, and then 23 lands, the new staple land count. And we have the Raucous Theater as the surveil land of choice. Then we got Blues Clues, Eric DeVoe's build with Lucas and Will, or Werner and Bjornog, I think their official names. We got Mockingbird, Ragavan, Dockside. Drannith Magistrate is showing up a pretty high creature count compared to like T and K, which is the same colors here, right? We're seeing like a 16 was pretty high when we looked at that, and this is 20, which is significantly higher. Flame Scroll Celebrant, which is not really even a creature. It's basically there for Revel in Silence, although I guess in a Nadu pod, maybe the 1 damage from Flame Scroll adds up. It does really punish Necropotence, I guess. That's pretty hot. I wonder how often the front of Flame Scroll Celebrant came up. I guess not too much. Has additional kind of utility against Sisay, where a lot of the time Silence is really, really bad against them. And Revel in Silence actually just does work and shut them down. We're on Flesh Duplicate and Gilded Drake. Don't always see those in these higher color piles. From the Fimage, Abolisher, lots of stapley stuff. Imperial Recruiter, we're on a lot higher of a creature count, so this becomes way more reasonable. Baron Master Wizard will, if we're able to cast it infinitely, bouncing it to our hand, recasting it, like if we loop with Dockside or Hullbreaker Horror, that just wins the game. So we prioritize stuff like that, like Baron Master Wizard, the Hullbreaker Horror. Imperial Recruiter is able to get Dockside or Baron, any half of that combo. Valley Floodcaller, just OP. We mentioned while we're on Hullbreaker, you guys know all about Ranger Captain. Sorceries, pretty normal for these colors beyond being also on Beseech the Mirror, which we don't often see in like Tymna Kraum, for example. We're also not opting for any board wipes. We're on 20 creatures, right? We want to play a Deluge. We want to have a Baron Master Wizard, a 1/1 instance. So we are on the Alchemist Retrieval. You know, we've seen as an okay option, became more popular post like Necro Dom as a good way to get rid of your own Necro Dominance. We'll see if we're on that. We're on Culling, Dark Grit, trying to go zoom, zoom, zoom. We're on Final Fortune as well as Chance for Glory, which we haven't seen too much of recently, but creatures are indestructible and you get an extra turn. So very good if somebody's trying to like Bowmasters your Baron or something. Being able to respond with, my creatures can't die this turn, and I'm going to get an extra turn to try again if something else comes up. Pretty hot. On the Red Flare, we do have a 2-mana red commander, as well as things like Ragavan, Dockside, Emperor Recruiter potentially sitting around. Maybe Simeon Spirit Guide. I'm pretty sure I've done that stupid line before. Nas, we're on the forces, of course. Well, I shouldn't say of course anymore because decks just cut it, but artifacts, no ring, Wish Claw, a whole bunch of mana, no talisman effects at all. Pretty interesting. We're not doing Cloudstone with Dockside here. That has come up in similar builds if you're Dockside looping. Not doing that here. But we're doing Chthonian Nightmare instead, which has a good bit of utility. You know, you're able to buy back some creatures that could just be powerful. Again, just goes infinite with Dockside and your commanders. Loop, 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 get everybody dead. And we are on the Necro Dominant, so leaning to go quicker. We're on that Retrieval to bounce it back. You know, you can, if you're instant speed doing stuff, you can beseech it away, whatever you got to do to get rid of this thing. If you need to use the graveyard. And then 26 lands. We are in the Cavern of Souls. We got a lot of humans in the deck. And Understudied Sewers as a surveil land in a 4-color list. Yeah, really like this deck. I think it's a really smart option. I got to talk to Eric this past weekend a whole lot about it. You know, it's a deck he's been playing for a long time, but I think it is just well positioned to be a good stuff variant of just fast Grixis things right now, and being able to just jam win attempts and try to get a little faster than Tymna Kraum and like around the same speed as Rogsai, but also having what white provides you and the access to creature combos as well. Next up, we got another T and K. How's it looking? How's it looking? 14 creatures, so no Mockingbird, but we do see the Polywog and the Drannith. So Drannith hopping back in. Again, I think it's a pretty decent option. Sorceries, fairly staple stuff. Intent, no Toxic Deluge. Instants, we got the Offer, both the Red Blast, Swords. We're on Snapback here. Okay, free bit of interaction. And we got Fire Covenant as our board wipe of choice, which I think I like better in this environment where you know there's only going to be like maybe 2 Nadu or something like that. We don't want to be killing our own like Ragavan or Drannith or whatever if we can avoid it. And getting to hold it up at instant speed plays well into our engines, Smothering Tithe, whatever. Artifacts, we are on the ring, a decent amount of talismans. No Necropotence here, but we're on the Tithe, Rhystic Mystic Breach. 28 lands. Usually we see 27 out of Tymna Krams. No Cavern. Fairly clean TNK. I think Drannith is actually a pretty good call for this event, as well as the Fire Covenant. Looks good. Next up, we got Zane, 5th place, just get 20 points. Probably the person I was most hoping would win this, but amazing performance anyways. Destroyed in the Swiss of the Invitational. Same creatures we saw in the last build. You're going to see a lot of similarities in these builds, maybe even the exact same thing. Welder, Blood Collar, no Bowmasters. Couple changes here in the sorceries, where we're back on Wheel of Misfortune as another way to refill, deploy a bunch of mana, spend a little bit of life, but whatever. It was good enough before, it's good enough now. And then Demonic Bargain, card we saw in a few of these lists. 3 mana, exile the top 13 cards of your library, then search your library for a card, put the card in your hand, and then shuffle. Similar to like the Rhystic Tutor or Tainted Pacts, Consult, whatever, but it's just 13 are gone, and then you get the full reign of the rest of your deck for 2 and a black. I heard very good things about this card. You're very unlikely to lose all of your win cons in the top 13, so if you're looking for some kind of way to win, probably figure it out. This deck just has a million different ways to win. On the Brainstorm here as well, and on the Entomb, just Pyroblast, no Red Blast. Again, no forces. We don't need them. They're cope. Just lose. Artifacts, bunch O rocks. We're on the Citadel. Zane did cut the Grim Monolith, which I thought he said to me. And then enchantments, staple 5 we expect. Lands, Undercity Sewers as our surveil land of choice. Nothing else really standing out here. Yeah, Rogsai jamming it up with cards like Demonic Bargain, cEDH playable. I mean, it got 5th at the biggest event ever. It might have got higher than that. We'll see there. But yeah, it's just a super high density of payoffs now. You have more tutors, more wheels, just less interaction, just freaking jam. Let's just go, dude. Then in 4th place, we got another Rogsai, you know what it is. So in the creatures, we do have the Bowmasters here. So not doing Goblin Welder shenanigans. Sorceries, Wheel of Misfortune, no Demonic Bargain, none of that. Instants, we are on both the Red Blast here. We're on Force of Will, which I think if you're going to run 1 is correct. Do I have to start calling people cowards for running Force of Will now? Is that added to the list of what gets you called a coward on my channel? Artifacts, no Bolus of Citadel. Still got D-Grid, all the rocks, Grinding Station, whatever, Wishclaw. The rest of the stuff you would expect, just not doing the Welder and Citadel package. Enchantments, both Necros, the 5 you expect. And then we're basically just checking to see what our surveil land of choice is when we look at the lands. Undercity Sewers this time. All right, 3rd place. We got Kinnan. Tezzeret here. Let's see what we're looking at. I don't get to look at too many Kinnans nowadays. We'll see if there's been any big shakeups. A whole bunch of dorks. Polywog Prodigy. Nice new engine they got access to. Trophy Mage. Glenelendra. We are on the Valley of Floodcaller. Interesting stuff because like Kinnan runs a decent amount of creatures. We'll see what let's see if we get down there. Maybe there's more non-creatures that make more sense. But just being able to flash in rocks, especially when so many of them are mana positive. If you have any kind of engine in play and you're able to like draw into rock, you might literally be able to like draw into Kinnan activations, which is a pretty sick dynamic the deck hasn't really had before. In terms of big old creatures, Seedborn, Wandering Archaic, Consphinx, Nyx Bloom, as a whole, Hullbreaker, pretty much what we've expected for the past, I don't know, feels like 2 years at this point, something like that. Sorceries, tutors, get the stuff into play, get artifacts, get creatures. Instants, we are on the Offer, Fluster, Croprot, Delay, Resculpt. We're on the Archdruid's Charm, very flexible card. Sink into Stupor, pretty free, including Kinnan. We're running the Forces. Wow, can't believe it. Artifacts, bunch O rocks. We are on Trinisphere, very good at locking out decks like Rogsai. If you can get this out turn 1, probably even turn 2, can be incredibly disruptive to anybody trying to develop into anything. And then we're on the Apple of Eden, which is pretty cool, especially in a big mana deck to be able to develop this. And then, hey, I got a whole bunch of mana, crack it, let's pop off, let's just win with somebody else's hand. Enchantments, we are on the Sylvan Library, bringing it back, Rhystic Mystic. And then lands, E-Zone, Treasure Vault, Manamo, nothing too new other than the Sink into Stupor, really. Then 2nd place, we got another Rogsai. Another build with no Bowmasters is on Goblin Welder. Sorceries, we are not doing Demonic Bargain, and we're only on the 3 wheels. Instants, no Brainstorm. We're on just the Pyroblast, no Red Elemental. We are on Force of Will, still no Force of Negation. We are on the Citadel, of course. We got the Welder in there. We got to be on the Citadel. 5 enchantments we expect to see. This is no Surveil Land. Spicy. Not running tap lands in cEDH. That's low elo. Looks like Gemstone Mine in its place. Okay. Yeah. Rogsai, again, not fully forceless, but a good, powerful Rogsai Citadel build. It's leaning very proactive. 2nd place here. And then your winner, Bailey Abner, playing Tymna Kraum. Cabal. 14 creatures, so we're on the Saracen. Gotta put the pressure on them Rog size, right? And we did see pressure on life totals be absolutely critical in the top 4 game, where a Bowmaster Orc came down, you know, a Bowmaster wheel happened, turn 0, Rog signed the play, Twistered, Bailey had Gemstone Caverns, Dark Wit, Bowmasters untapped with a 22/22 Orc and got people dead very quickly. Beyond the Saracen, though, pretty well what I would expect out of the creatures. You got the Metamorph, Mockingbird, Floodcaller, Range Captain, you know. Floodcaller not showing up in every TNK, but seems really good. Sorceries, Rado Flame. We're on the Dam is our board wipe of choice. 2 cards that look kind of cutesy, but also just won the top 4 game is Angel's Grace, which was used with Ad Nauseam to win. Can also combo with Final Fortune to give you an extra turn for free, keep you just from losing to it early, like Thoracle Consult, whatever. And then Blue Elemental Blast, which was used to blow up a Rograk, who is a chump blocker, which is hot, very hot usage of it. But again, you are expecting a pretty high density of busted red cards to be cast in a pretty Rog-centric meta. Makes sense in that environment. And then one I hadn't seen that it's in here is Slaughter Pact. Really, the only problematic black creature that's a must kill for some kind of combo turn is Opposition Agent. That's the only one this avoids. And then it just being 0 mana, destroy any other creature, basically. You're not expecting like Dothy Voidwalkers and stuff like that to be stopping you. We did see one, but not gonna be a super popular card. Is gonna be really good at just dealing with whatever Dranniths, whatever gets there, and it being 0 mana especially is just super easy to add into your calculations for your win. On the chain, both Red Blast, Born, Swan Song, the rest looking pretty standard. Artifacts, bunch of rocks, and Witchclaw Talisman. Enchantments, oh wow, okay, I didn't know we went this deep. Necro, Breach, Mystic, Rhystic, no Smothering Tithe, and we have Blood Chief Ascension. Just putting damage in on people over time just gets people pretty dead who are doing a bunch of wheeling, doing a bunch of graveyard shenanigans, and just playing a game of cEDH just gets you pretty dead. Your lands, we do have the Forbidden Orchard, no Cavern of Souls, and that's your winner. Blue Blast, Angel's Grace, Slaughter Pact, Sarah Ascendant, Tymna Kraum here in the Topdeck Invitational. Let me know down below what you think of this tournament. I thought it was pretty awesome. We got a really cool, interesting look at what this game can look like. I'm going to be talking more about the event in detail in other videos that I'm doing, but really wanted to get this deck list breakdown out as quickly as I could. It's already coming late because I didn't get home until Monday night. So gonna get it, you know, I'm trying to get it out to you guys as quick as I can, but thank you so much for watching. And as always, go play cEDH. Have a good one, everybody.